So let me start with a question. We've all been we all been with our children, and we have all been with their emotions. So when you read this topic and when you read that little description, what thoughts are in your mind right now? It could be a question, it could be a thought, it could be a small experience, something which connects to this and something which has also made you think that I want to attend this session. So some of you would like to share, that would be awesome way to start.
In my case, workplace of India.
Yeah, Milind.
Like the child's emotion. In her case, it's like she gets played up quite frequently if something is not given to her. Like whether watching TV or whether she doesn't want to study, and then her tantrum starts.
Mm-hmm.
So only in this case, and then how to control that, how to ensure that, okay, watching TV is fine, not studying may be fine, but that is also one of the requirements. To stop your watching TV and start studying your homework. That's one of the part of your requirements. Mm-hmm. How to handle that area, how to make her responsible. Because that is something which cannot be ignored totally.
Okay. Okay. Well, what you are talking, I'm just trying to understand what you're talking about is more responsibility of their behavior, as in if I have to study, I should study. So what is more what you're talking about is how am I responsible towards my whatever duty or whatever am I supposed to do, right?
Because only in these cases she becomes angry, her emotions become saddened, face goes down. But otherwise she's perfect, very happy go with her kid. But that emotion comes when even these two things are not given. One TV not given, or number two TV closed, asks her to study. Then she becomes angry or starts crying, saying things. All the tantrums or emotional outbreaks comes in a negative way.
Okay. Okay.
Hi Ratnesh, this is Venu here, and Milind, actually what Milind said also reminded me of my younger daughter Ananya.
Mm-hmm.
And Ananya is a person who likes to express herself by screaming.
Mm-hmm.
So whether she is happy or she is sad, she would be very quick to scream and shout. And one of the things how do we find a way for her not to just scream, but to express her emotion differently. Mm-hmm. Find other ways that she can express her emotion. She can realize, hopefully, that she finds different ways which are acceptable to us of expressing her emotions. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things that we learning while we were with Arohi. And it was really wonderful at that time. But again, I think it is something which is an ongoing process.
Sure, sure.
And as much for Ananya as for myself, I see that this is something that I need to do even for myself. Because at work, I frequently get upset and angry. And my colleagues do tell me the same, that when you frequently get angry, sometimes even with customers. So we need different responses.
Okay, okay. What I liked, Venu, was you put it very sweetly that she likes to express through shouting. Most people will say, "Oh, she shouts," but I like that she likes to express her emotions through shouting.
Yeah, that's probably because of the training at Arohi that I realized that it's not necessarily wrong that she expresses like that.
Right.
It's just that we are not able to accept that in our home setting. That's all.
Sure. So true.
Hi, Ratnesh.
Yeah, Radhe.
See, actually, okay, so the first thought on seeing the topic that came to my mind was, wow, here is a place for me to learn how to be responsible about my own emotions, because many a time I feel I might be responsible about that. So definitely not for my children. It's only for myself I'm sitting here today. Though I experiment many things, and I will not be sure whether what I'm doing is okay, or am I genuine, and am I hiding out, or I'm really handling it. You know, kind of doubts be there in my mind. So even when I talk to my children, because I'm not sure by myself, I was really in doubt whether I'm helping them or I'm confusing them. So I'm here to learn for myself how to take responsibility of my own emotions.
Okay, so we change the topic, helping rather than take responsibility of our emotions.
Exactly. That's what, because I see everything like that. Even the whole TTT is only for me, not for me. You have done a lot to me. Thanks.
Yeah, it has to begin with me. Absolutely. I can't be professing something which if I'm not exploring myself.
Yeah.
More thoughts? Nalini has just walked in. Nalini, you can. We just finished with a round of introduction, and we're just kind of discussing what this topic kind of brought to us. So you can join in anytime. Yes, go ahead, please.
Ratnesh.
Yeah.
Ratnesh, this is Anuradha.
Go ahead, Anuradha.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
These thoughts came into my mind. What age it is better to be parents? Are we mature to be parents? How open-minded we need to be to play the role? How much we should shoulder this responsibility? These 4 thoughts occurred to me as soon as I read this topic.
Right. Yeah.
When we ourselves are not, aware of many things, how can we shoulder the kids' responsibility of parenting? Yeah. And what is that we need to do?
Well, you will disqualify all of us. If you started talking about maturity, we'll all get disqualified.
No, Ratnesh, it is law of nature that we all become parents and slowly start participating in learning if we have an open-mindedness. Otherwise, it will be Hitlerism. That's it.
Sure.
I mention it Hitlerism only, nothing else.
Sure. More thoughts, more people?
Yeah, this is Sunita, Ratnesh and all.
Yeah.
So when I basically heard this topic, what struck me was we are growing, and right now I'm 42 years old, and it basically took me almost like, my first workshops when we started, when my children was 6 months old, I was realizing that for at least 2 years it just took to seep in and dwell on the information, and although the information was just hitting the ear, something was happening. Workable model, nothing was happening. So I realized that, it was a lot of introspective work on what is happening to my emotion when I'm upset, or if somebody is talking something which we're not accepting. So a lot of work happened internally, and almost like, only last 5 years back I understood that, everything got consolidated. So I would say it took me almost 10 to 12 years to literally work on myself, like, old beliefs, limiting beliefs, emotions, something suddenly we are upset. How is that we can overcome that upset quickly and again set to the corrective thinking? So then when I was working with my children, and when we are giving a lot of kindness, affection, they are very much responding, they do respond very well, very fine. But sometimes when things are not well, so they're not able to take as we want them to, like, pick up few things. Then I realized that, I know how to handle my emotion, but I'm still not ready to teach how to handle my child, learn how to handle his emotion. Then I was working on this aspect, like, they're getting upset. At that moment, something we are saying, it can pacify them either by bribing something like a good food or treat or something, but internally settling them was still I could not feel that I was really empowered enough to help them do this. But over the years, I realized that, anything is happening, like, I just generated this concept of corrective thinking and defective thinking, for example. So if something is, just leave it. Something is happening. So what we say something and the child is upset and they resort to some kind of thinking where if say for example mother has said something, father has said something, they can take something so negatively and start preparing that mind saying that if only my father was not at home I would have escaped this.
Yes.
They tend to think like that. Then I started showing that. Exactly.
Yes.
So I could have escaped this more in a better way.
Right.
Then I was thinking, so I established a concept of talking this way. This is the way you're thinking right now, but this thinking is called as a defective thinking and it's going to land you in more problems. And let us see what is corrective thinking.
Okay.
So now that you're feeling upset, can you give a word to it? So are you a little sad, more sad, or are you frustrated, disgusted? But this takes pretty long amount of time to really work to a level that they recognize at least some 10-15 emotions. Then when it started working, then I could see that they could settle with their emotions, and not only that, in that emotion they tend to tame their mind either positively or in a wrong way. So what I realized is identifying the emotion is one thing, and taking charge through the corrective self-talk is what helps, is what I understood after seeing this. I pondered on this topic. So this is what I have to say.
Okay, yeah, great. And also I think the realization is important. If it takes us 10-12 years to kind of understand this, it took you 10-12 years, taking me many years. Isn't it so important that we start so early with the children? Because then, let's say by the time they so-called finish their education, which they never really do, but at least by the time that they are, let's say, out of our nest, we have at least given them some understanding of their emotion. Again, I'm not saying we can give a complete understanding, but we have helped them understand their emotions and their behaviors and so on in a little better way. That's the whole idea. Yeah.
And just one more add-on point is what used to, if we are upset, I remember my days when I was upset, sometimes I used to be 2 days, 2.5 days, 3 days, but right now I made a decision, anything is upsetting, I want to rebound back within next half an hour. So it's a beautiful transformation which I felt. Anything is upsetting, I just try to talk it out, finish it out, but I don't want to spend more than 5 minutes to maximum half an hour to get over that upset, which was not there. I'm talking about earlier. So I was thinking, how can we teach something to the children in this way that they can get over something which is not their liking. And this generation children they can get upset over anything what they don't like, and the concept is so clear that you is so important for them. The factor of you has become so primarily important for this generation children. Everything, choice, everything is so high. So for them, anything they don't like, it upsets them more.
Sure. In fact, we do that in Arohi. We have a concept of daily dirt cleaning. So at the end of the day, we sit together and everybody shares whatever feelings they have with anybody else. We call it dirt cleaning, much like we would clean off our dustbins every day. Otherwise, they start stinking the next day. So it's important, like how you put in half an hour thing to you. If we can put, we do it on a daily basis at the night and at Arohi with all children and all adults and everything.
Wonderful.
And it does make a lot of difference to children and to everybody, including us. If we are able to express ourselves by the end of the day, and since it's a routine, since it's something they know that there's a space, everybody knows that there's a space to express, it becomes that much easier to express. I'm not saying it's easy for everybody. Like Venu was mentioning, somebody may want to shriek and somebody may want to be quiet, and everybody has a different way of doing it. So, but creating a space, creating a routine, creating an environment where on a daily basis we understand how important it is to clean off our dustbins, clean off all the stinky stuff that is, not required. Yeah, that's very important.
Thanks, Ratnesh, for your input. I picked up that we need to start that dirt cleaning mechanism every day. Thank you so much.
Sure. Anybody else?
This is Venu here. Sunita, I wanted to take you up on your challenge. You said that you would recover if somebody hurt you within 30 minutes. So I wanted to just test you. Are you okay if I would do that?
You mean to say right now? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to challenge your thought process. The example that you gave, where the technique that you use with your child, where you name something as defective or effective behavior. Is that right?
Oh, effective, corrective thinking and defective thinking.
Corrective thinking and defective thinking. I personally feel that it is wrong. It's more damaging to the process to encourage a child to think about their emotions than it is helpful. So I would like to support that.
Yeah, so basically it's right now I just shared what I felt was working for me. As I told you, it took me 12 years to understand how we stick on to some emotions, and we actually give a lot of our good energy into that process, like handling these emotions and getting hurt and dwelling on that takes away our vital energy. So we don't have time left out to pursue good things. So this is what I was thinking, because it's not taught in schools, like right from very young age. In my days, my father was a very strict father. He was not an empathetic father. He used to scold and go off and aram se come back, and the family used to run. Whereas my mother used to be a kind mother, so we got some kind of a balance. But I always felt like some of the times when some good occasions and all, I wish my father came late. I wish he was not present here, because he's something out of the blue he says something which was not relevant at that point, and which was also not correct. So we used to go to Hyderabad for some and all. I wish he came late. So why did I feel like that? Because that said something inappropriately at that point in time. So when I was working with our children, when we are giving lot of importance, lot of affection, they totally respond in a different way. Then our past comes back saying that my father treated me like this, and I was respecting him, and I treat my children with respect and kindness and compassion, understanding. But if something they are doing, they just can't get it, and they repel back, and either ways we are suffering. So there also it was a suffering. Now you give 100%. This generation parents are giving time, love, affection, education in maximum proportion. All the parents are doing this. But when it comes to receiving end, sometimes the children are not able to give that back in that proportion. So I was concentrating on this point with myself and several things. What I wanted to say is, when we are teaching a child that if the parent is scolding for the right reason, instead of thinking that my father, if my father was not been there, I would have get away with this. I was teaching my child, his name is Rishank. Rishank, you did something wrong here, and now you think that why father scolded you, and you could have avoided this. You would have finished your homework on time, so that next day you had more time for your TV or something. This is called you're thinking on the positive lines. Negative thinking is whatever you have done is okay, and it is fine. And you feel that father scolded me, so let me avoid him. So I was giving this kind of example. Where I'm saying is, when you're feeling bad, let us know why are we feeling bad. So this is the perspective I wanted to bring. Just understand. I'm talking from the child perspective, whereas the adult hurts could be very different, where people.
Years in the way they ROE is meant for 2 to 100 years or more, as much as we can live. So the methods, I think, apply for all, whether children or adults. But it was great to hear, Sunita, at least you are able to speak to your child. Child is upset, and sometimes you are upset. I'm still not able to get through when sometimes I get upset and I shout at my children.
TTT, thanks to Genie Kids TTT, because at that time my child was 6 months old. So I got that solid background. I was always wondering, every time something good, I give credit to TTT, because this is something they bought almost 18 years back, 19 years back, I guess, 16, 17 years back, where there was nothing of this sort in India.
Sure, Sunita. Okay, so can I little interrupt? So I think
we digressed. Yeah.
what Venu is trying to, so you have your own, let's call it, way of doing it, and you have given it names. And I think just what Venu is trying to challenge is that's one way of doing it, but that in itself may have its own kind of issues when we term something as defective and corrective itself. That itself should be having. So that's okay. I think that's your journey, and I think we Venu wants to challenge that aspect of it.
Thanks, Venu, for challenging.
Yeah, Preda, we got your questions. We'll come to it. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah,
Ratnesh, what I remembered from when the book's topic on emotions, what I remembered and what I taken from TTT was that you had said parents are like a mirror. So what I try to do with my child is what I realize from my emotions that when we are emotionally charged, we cannot see ourselves. We cannot see what we are doing or what is going through us. So it's like when somebody shows us what you wear, this is what you wear. So if she's got angry after she has done that, I just try to talk to her. What did you feel? What was happening to you? So she said like I was angry. So it was more like trying to help them to realize that it is an emotion, that something is happening to them. Or if for that matter, even if it is playing with a swing. So what were you feeling that time? So she said I was happy, I was having fun. So it is like trying to help them that this is anger, this is fear. So it's like if a honeybee or any wasp for that matter comes, it's like immediately start running. So what was happening? So what till now I have been trying to do is only trying to help them. And okay, if out of anger she goes and tries to bite someone, then just trying to asking them, what did you do? Did you feel good about it? Was it good? But then me feeling that it is wrong to go and bite, should not hit. So it is just trying to show them that this is what you're doing. So sometimes they don't realize that it is not correct or anything. I mean, they don't realize anything. It is just trying to show them. Maybe over a period, I don't know. I'm still experimenting on it.
Sure.
I just try to show her what she did. That's all. I just want to add this here. I'm just trying to show her that and trying to help her identify that these are the emotions.
Okay, this is what only the children age Priya? Hello?
Right. So.
Hello. Yeah. My daughter is 4 years.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So in some way, especially after TTT, we have started becoming more aware of our feelings. Hopefully, helping the child become aware of their feelings, and that kind of becomes itself a sensitization and awareness for everybody to at least understand, or at least know, even if don't understand, I would say know that, okay, this is what I'm feeling and this is what, let's say, other could be feeling, and so on. So we've kind of started, I'm assuming most of us work with feelings and express feelings and talk about feelings, right? So what I wanted to do was also see if we can kind of go a little ahead of that. In the sense, many cases, possibly this is enough. Many cases, or many a times, it is enough to just to be connected with somebody else's feeling, and then let the child kind of work through his own her own feeling, understand his or her own feelings. But also it is interesting if we can kind of take this one step ahead and help the child and maybe help ourselves to understand the feelings a little more in a more detailed way, or in a more deeper way. I think deeper way is a better word. If I can understand it in a more deeper way and say, okay, this is what it is, because it's some way feelings to me are just indicators. They are like traffic signals or any signal. Right? It's indicating something. It's telling something. Yeah, and partly when we talk about this dirt cleaning, and partly we talk about expressing. So partly we are expressing our feelings, or the other way around, acknowledging others' feelings. But can we also go one step ahead and help the child and help ourselves understand that feeling better? And maybe that can further help to work on the behavior as a cycle, if that is what you are looking at. Yeah, so just to kind of move this little forward, I'm sure we have more thoughts. So I want to, if we can take up a situation and explore that a little more without it being of a particular person, if that is how you would like to do it, or if somebody would like to give a situation, we can take that and explore that a little more. How would you like to do it? Like just take a general situation, like I've written general situations on the screen just for reference, but we can take up anything else, any situation that you would like to share. We can take that also. Yep, anybody? Or you'd like to take a general situation, like child is shouting. That's just a general situation.
Actually, whatever you have listed here itself is the most generalized thing, I believe, Ratnesh. It's not only child is shouting, even I can take anybody shouting. So the first thing that is seen is the behavior.
Right.
Yeah, that person is shouting, don't shout.
Right.
So I know how much it hurts when I outburst and the first comment I hear is, please don't shout.
Right.
Or please talk, slowly, or reduce your thing, I cannot stand that. I understand and I can see myself increasing my volume or getting dumb immediately, like I stop talking altogether, and but people will enoughly understand that I'm even more angry, and and that's talking about the behavior is really upsetting.
Right. So I would assume that most of us are kind of aware that what we end up reacting to sometimes is the behavior rather than possibly exploring the feelings that is leading to that behavior. And that's the first step. That's what we also talk about in more detail in the TTT program, that instead of responding to the behavior, can we kind of connect to the feelings?
Feelings, yeah.
Okay.
So I have experimented because it happens 10 times and 8 times I deliberately fail. 2 times I dip into talking about my own feelings as well as my children's feelings, and I see magics happening, and immediately that shouting on will come down into a more calm voice and say, yes, I am upset. Yeah, I am mad. Yes, I am mad at and after that I can see things are approachable, and even I am getting approachable. And
okay, so what do you typically say? In such a situation, what do you say when the child is shouting?
Yeah, the one sentence I say, you are angry.
Okay.
You are upset. So that's it. I don't tell. I cannot say I want to be genuine. I cannot say I think you are angry. I will never add that. I just say you are angry because that's the truth. And you maybe if it is not angry, if I have doubt, I would say generally I'll say you are upset.
Right.
So that addresses, and I see my child sitting next to me, like, or I feel I'm seated next to my child, and we are now connected.
Right. Okay. Now, this is where I want to get on today as to what next. So not what next in terms of sequence, but can we go a little deeper and help the child understand this anger a little bit more? Right. Now, which is where I'm asking all of you, what would be the kind of, again, don't take it as a sequence, but what could be a possible next statement?
Would you like to share why are you angry?
Okay.
what made you upset?
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear that. What made you upset? Okay. Okay, so let you put it down. What made you upset? Or what made you angry?
How are we sure the child was upset? Probably the child is just shouting at her friend or the other in the other house, maybe.
Right. So I'm with you. So if we say to the child, you are angry, and the child is not actually angry or not actually upset, the child would say so typically, or indicate in some way or the other that whatever we have guessed, because we have only guessed here that you are angry. The child either may say, no, I'm not, or the child will say, I am something else, or the child will show in some physical way, some body language way, some action that you haven't guessed me or correctly, or you haven't, you are not with me in where I am. So I'm assuming we will then.
Yeah, so
sorry?
I'm just concerned that when we make a statement to the child, you are angry. Often I'm too tall, so I come down on a child when I give a statement. Physically also I look like that. So I suggest it is better if we ask the child, are you angry or are you upset, rather than stating it as you are angry or you are upset. We cannot state another person's feeling. We can only request to know if it is so.
Okay, so that's another option. So okay, let me put it there. So one is state that you are angry. One is the question, kind of what are you feeling? Though I'm not sure even that always helps, because first of all, when I am upset, I mean, let's assume I am upset. Am I really in a mood to now kind of answer your questions? Also that a question that what are you feeling or how are you feeling kind of many a times also brings in almost like a justification or defensiveness, that justification or defensiveness that I need to now
Hello?
kind of just.
Yeah, I think.
Somebody was
Hello?
speaking, yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello? Yeah, most of the times I've seen that immediately after the behavior, there most of the times no mood of talking. So sometimes it helps you to do anything also. I mean, let them be with whatever they are, because the moment immediately after the behavior you try to talk to them, they're in no mood. Just as you said, it just, what thought I got was sometimes when the short for some time, immediately try to ask something, they're in no mood to answer. They'll just tell you, their body language will be just like you kind of go away.
Right.
No mood of talking now.
Ratnesh, actually, I have a little thing to share here. You know, like, I remember. Actually, I have tried this quite a number of times, and words used by the way is somehow you can understand the person is upset or angry. You know, so some kind of satisfaction, some kind of low feeling is now. So I can just right hand either angry. So I acknowledge or I see that you're angry or you're upset. The child and it's bad asking the child a question. What I was trying was like with a child, my daughter. If it was me, I would.
Radhi, your voice is slightly wavering for me. Sometimes I'm able to hear you, sometimes I'm not. Either you need to come a little closer to the mic or something like that. Sometimes it's clear, it's like within a sentence going up and down.
Oh, see, actually I'm having a mobile in my hand. I'm talking, Ratnesh. I'm not sure what is happening. even when some other person is talking, I find that is happening. Like, you know, it breaks in between, and then I'm muting. I don't know why.
So request to everybody else to ensure that your mic is on mute. That's important, so that whoever is speaking is able to clearly speak, and rather we are able to hear whoever is speaking. That's important. Yeah, so everybody please ensure that your mic is on mute. I can, from my console, I can see some mics showing as unmuted. Dina, Anuradha, Sunita. Can you mute your mics? Anuradha, your mic's still not on mute. Yeah, thank you. Right, Radha, you can, sorry, you can try and repeat that maybe in short, what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah, Ratnesha, this is what I would like to share that, you know, without, no, it is all about being genuine. I
Sure.
understood that this was the feeling, and if it was wrong, yeah, the child would even tell that in a loud, you know, they'll even shout that. No, I'm not angry. No,
Right.
they even tell that. That's fine. And the moment that expression of what I'm really feeling, that negative feeling comes out, you know, the calmness is coming inside, and giving some time to them. Actually, I've seen them talking on their own. Sometimes they want to be quiet also because they don't want to express everything that is happening to them. So
right.
Sometimes they'll be quiet. So what made you feel like that? Why are you angry? Even that question will not help. It was not helping. Like, you know, when I tried, you know, because
right.
I may not want to tell because that may be something which, you know, I feel I have done something. So I may not want to commit it immediately. It needs so much of courage. You know, we'll not be so courageous all the time. Sometimes we want to be quiet.
Yeah.
I actually agree with them, and not to question was my next sequence. The child, the children themselves will come and talk to me.
Right, your voice is again wavering, Radhe.
They'll get into their own stuff.
Sure. So we know to kind of connect the thread. I think number one, I would say that there are many ways of responding. Let's instead of trying to say that this is the best way to respond, I would leave it to explore and experiment. Each child is different. Each one of us is different. Some of us may like questions. Some of us may just like a statement like "you are angry." Some of us may feel that we are being looked down upon when we are told a statement. Some of us would like others to be just quiet and give me that space. Some of us need a more physical kind of an acknowledgement, somebody coming and sitting next to me but not doing anything. So there could be a physical acknowledgement, an eye contact, a little holding the hand. So some are more wanting that. So I'm not so sure if there is a better or a worse way of doing it. Whichever way we are able to connect with the child's feeling, I think it's good enough. Right? And again, we need to explore and experiment with different people, different children. Also, possibly say 2-3 different things if you're not sure which one would work. And another thing that has at least helped me is that I'm more than I'm also tentative. I express my tentativeness. So I don't need to say you are angry, or but I can always say it looks like to me with the way you are doing things that maybe you are angry. Now when I'm putting all these maybe blah blah blah, I'm actually realizing or actually accepting to myself first that I can never be sure what the other person is feeling, and I'm hence tentative about it. And I would, but I'm trying to connect to you. So I'm not connected. I'm trying to connect. So the tentativeness, at least has at least when I'm working with a group, when there's not one individual, when I don't even know which is the best way this group would like me to respond. Sometimes just being a tentative kind of thing helps me, right? Yeah. So
very true, Ratnesh. Again, I'm getting expanded. Thanks. So let me think in this way. Thanks.
Right. So I yeah. So maybe seems to looks like, these kind of things are just connecting with the feeling. Okay. We wanted to kind of little move ahead in the sense that I had asked also that, okay, so if this is the, the response, what would be after this? Maybe the child says something, yeah, whatever, that boy did this to me, or that thing is, or my brother did this to me, or something, right? Something the child shares, right? What do we do next with that? So let's say the child shares. When we say whatever, we ask, or how are you feeling, or we just say mom, and the child says, let's say the child is referring to a friend or a sibling and says he is horrible, he's terrible, whatever. So says something about, let's say, the other person. Just taking an example. When he's saying we should be like earth to all electricity, Vishnu is bringing physics here, grounding. So somebody had said that you'll ask what made you angry. Yeah. Any other response? And also, I'm not remembering who said this. What made you angry? What I'm just understanding. Why are you asking this? What made you angry?
Ratnesh, I said, but I think actually what I would generally do, I have a 15-year-old son. I just see if they're upset. Generally, I would say this. I noticed that you're not your regular self. Is it anything happened? Would you like to share?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Would you like to share?
That is a 15-year-old who can really handle so many things. I don't see that I don't see you're in connect with yourself or your regular self. Something is missing, or I see you're a little different today.
Sure. Others, what kind of response would be the next response? How would you earth the electricity? if I paraphrase Venu.
Hello?
Yeah, Dipali.
Hello?
Yeah, Dipali, we can hear you. Though you are still on a propeller, but we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, Dipali, we can hear you. Can you hear us? So this is one line of response. What made you angry? Would you like to share? And as I said, typically if the person says that that person did this, let's say XYZ, whatever, broke my stuff or whatever the others, let's say a sibling or a friend did, then what is our next response?
Hello? Ratnesh, I cannot hear you.
Okay.
Hello?
Are others able to hear me?
Yeah,
I'm able to hear you. But the thing is, I have something to communicate. How do I do it? Should I switch on the green mute button, unmute it and then speak, or should continue speaking?
Yeah, you have to unmute the button and speak. Right now you are unmuted, so we are able to hear you. So when you're not speaking, just keep it on mute. Okay, I'm just inviting, what could be other responses, or what are your other responses?
Ratnesh, my typical response would be, I don't like what is happening. It's a common thing. But when I'm really, what to say, in a mood or in a way in which I have to respond, then it would be like, yeah, I see you angry, or it's like acknowledging and all that. But commonly, the first thing I would say is I don't like what is happening, or because it may be happening, if it is happening in a quite in a public place and I feel embarrassed, immediately I myself I'm not in a position to acknowledge their feelings, and they are feeling, it's only the behavior, so it's just expressing.
Okay, so I put that down. So also responding to Venu, right? So Venu, while I agree, some of the responses to connect with the feelings have been given, and as I said, we can explore more till we are sure that we are trying to connect with the feeling. And before we go on to the end result, whatever is the end result, change of behavior, change of situation, whatever else, is there something in between? That is where I am, right? So I'm actually, I'm also trying to say that, is there a, like how Radhe said that, she may not like the way somebody is responding to that, or whatever, the feeling or whatever it is, and she would say, I don't like it. But rather, when you're typically saying that I'm not liking what is happening, you are actually going back to the behavior. So you started with behavior, and then you went to the feeling. So behavior was the first thing that happened, right? Let me put that down. Right. So behavior was the first thing, was put that down, and then we went on to feelings. We connected with the feelings, right? So it's like a step 1 and step 2 in some ways. Now, if you're going to go back to saying that the behavior is not okay, then you're actually going back to the behavior, which is one way of doing it. I can stay with the feelings, so I can stay with whatever the child is going through. Yeah, are we missing something is where I am. So I'm trying to bring in a third thing. Look at it that way, Venu. So we have thoughts or actions. The child has become aware of feelings. The behavior is already visible by everybody, and then there are feelings. But can we do something else next? Is where I am.
Yeah, I find it.
Hello, Agnesh. Hello.
Yeah, multiple people speaking now. Nalini, go ahead.
Yeah, I would ask the child, can we go for a walk? I want to change the scene. Now it's very tense up, he's shouting.
But why do you want to change
So I want to go out of this
Why
situation.
do you want to change the scene?
Because I feel that it is tensed up.
Right, but
I
why
don't
do you
want to put pressure on him.
Why do you want to change it? That means you are not okay neither with the behavior nor with the feeling.
No, not the changing, but I'm taking him away from this scene.
Right, why? I'm asking you why.
So that because I feel that way.
No.
So if something happens
right,
in a
that
room,
means you're saying
if I
whatever
go outside, then
right. So exactly. So what I'm challenging is, in a way, you are saying, if you're saying let's go for a walk, you are either wanting to change the behavior or wanting to change the feeling.
Not change the feeling. I want to know, and I want to set a platform, a very comfortable platform.
Why do you want a comfortable
with my experience.
Comfortable platform.
Because here, like it is, we are standing, keeping him on the evidence stand.
No.
I feel that way in my experience.
Right. So what you are saying is that we end up pinning the child. We end up saying this is not right, that is not right, which is again going back to behavior. Or we end up denying the behavior. What is there to be so scared about, or what is there to be so upset about? So we again end up denying the behavior, the feeling. That is precisely where I'm saying that why do we need to do all of that? What is this behavior and feeling inviting us to do?
Can't we be just silent? No need to talk.
Whatever, whether you are silent or not, what is it that we can use this? What is it? How can I see the behavior has happened and we are able to see a feeling there, right? So we know two things. We've seen the behavior and we are kind of aware of the feeling. These are the two things happening till now, right? So
we can give freedom. Now the child should need the freedom.
Yeah, but for what? Like, is these two a way to do something else, a third thing, which is where the keyword responsibility comes. So I have a behavior, then I have a feeling. Now can I use this behavior and the feeling to bring in the responsibility for it, which is where I am.
Yeah, he should feel confident.
No, even if I'm feeling unconfident, what's the problem in feeling unconfident? Whatever I'm feeling, can I use this to now understand myself and become more responsible for my feelings? Not for my behavior as yet, but at least responsible for my feelings.
Yeah, I find it very challenging to know the need of the child. Basically, when he's frustrated or irritated, there's a certain need.
Absolutely.
So, but I find it very, like Ria says, I feel left out. They didn't take me to play.
Right.
So she has a need. Then I know it's I knew the need was to be feel included. But many a times I don't know what her needs are. So I find it very challenging to help her understand her need. Nor sometimes, many a times, I don't understand my own needs, nor I understand her needs.
Cool. You brought it up. Okay, awesome. So that's where I'm coming from. So can we now start thinking that here is an opportunity? So what you're saying, you're finding it difficult. I'm just paraphrasing it by saying that here is an opportunity because there is a behavior and a feeling. Here is an opportunity to try and understand our needs. And our needs, by our needs, I mean whoever. Let's say if it's I am feeling something, then can I understand my needs? If somebody else is feeling something, can I help the other person understand their needs? Because when where I'm coming from is when I start understanding my needs, then I can start taking responsibility for my feelings. Because the feelings are not coming just like that. They didn't come out of thin air. They came out of because I have a need or a want or a desire or whatever, right? We're just calling it need as a generic word. And because there is a need, I have a feeling. And because there's a feeling, there's a behavior. So while acknowledging the feeling itself might be enough, let's say if I am upset and you acknowledge my upsetness, in many cases it might be enough for me to connect with my feeling, connect with my need, and hence take, take care of my feelings and hence behave differently. Now, this is when it is happening because of just out of awareness. What if it is not happening out of awareness? What next? Right, so Venu has also made a little diagram in the chat window for us. I've just short-circuited at Venu to saying that desire and needs lead to whatever, thoughts and emotions or other emotions, feelings. I've just put that into one bracket, and then that leads to behavior. Right, so the thoughts I'll combine with needs. So the need came through some thinking, right? So needs, thoughts, whatever, that led to some kind of emotions and feelings, and that led to some kind of behavior. Now we are working backwards. We can see the behavior, right? So this is something which is seen, and this is something which can become aware. Now, as I said, sometimes these two could be more than enough. I don't need to do anything else, right? I can understand, just by the awareness helps me to understand my needs. But what if it doesn't? What if the awareness isn't enough? So when I say you look like angry, or when I ask how are you feeling, or I say you are angry, that's not enough for the child to be able to understand his needs. Child says that boy is bad or whatever, that whatever, my brother is horrible or whatever. The child says something. Or you, if you want, you can take your own example, right? When I whatever, let's say my behavior is shouting at others, I'm feeling upset, and even if I am aware that I'm feeling upset, I still go ahead doing the same behavior, or I still keep feeling upset. How do I understand my own upsetness? Because I may keep saying why did he do like this? Why did he do like this? Why did he do like this? Now when I'm repeating this, why did he do like this? I'm only kind of getting more and more angry or burning inside me. I could be very quiet, but I'm kind of shouting inside me. So Dipali, question back to you, or to everybody. So how do we understand needs? But before we get to how do we understand needs, the how part, the the importance of understanding the need and the importance of understanding what Venu has put in the chat window, that the feeling is actually coming from a need. And if I'm able to understand my needs, then I'm able to take responsibility for my feelings, and then hopefully I'll be able to take responsibility of my behavior. Thoughts?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, once I know what my need is, I start feeling, okay, I can do something about it. So if I feel left out in a game and I know I want to be included, the minute I know that I can do something about it, go and see how I can get myself into the group. Yeah. So I think it empowers something about fulfilling the need, and once the need is fulfilled, I feel better. But the challenge is, how do we know what the need is?
Or rather, the challenge is to understand why at times what we confuse our needs with. Do I make sense? Something else kind of hides our needs from us, right? Let's take an example that will really help, right?
Can I give a scenario?
Yes, please.
Actually, one came to my mind.
Please.
I have a tablet at home, a computer tablet, and typically there is only one tablet and there are 3 children, and there is often a fight for this single resource. So when the tablet is taken away by one child, the other child gets angry, shouts, and says, and the need seems to be very clear there. The child, in fact, would shout and say, that person has taken away my tablet, and I want the tablet. And this is the same response, obviously, from both of them. This is quite a common scenario. It could be extrapolated to any resource, but so the need is clear here. But is that the real need? Is the question you rightly put there?
Okay, so let's go one by one. So, what is the behavior? Let's take this example.
Yeah, behavior is screaming child screaming at another child.
Okay. Right. What's the feeling?
Feeling is one of unfairness or hurt, anger.
Okay, anger, hurt. Unfair to me is more like a thought, but okay, I'll come to that.
Yeah, unfair is a common word that my daughter uses.
Right.
So, her way of expressing is to say it is unfair.
Right. Okay. Now, what is the need?
Need, the child also expresses, the child is not giving me, the tablet. I want the tablet.
Is that the need?
So the child is expressing it like that, that I want the tablet.
Okay, let me give it a word. That's not the need. That's the demand.
Okay.
Does that
so what is the need there?
Everybody? I'm saying that's not a need. That's a demand.
Okay.
I want the tablet is not a need. It's a demand. It's like me saying to a child, I want quietness in this room, or I want whatever, more, I want you to eat your food fully or finish your milk, or I want, now that is not a need, that is a demand.
Yeah.
Ownership? Is ownership a need?
Child to keep quiet is a demand and not a need. Because if I want to sleep and if the child is making noise, then that's my need.
What is your need? Your need is not that the child doesn't make noise. What is your need?
Sleep.
Yeah, so sleep is your need. Not that the child makes less noise is not a need. That's a demand.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm just giving one example of where we are confusing. So the need is covered by something else. Right? That's why we're not able to see the need. We are confusing it with what I'm calling as demand. Obviously, I'm just.
So you're saying basically we are not able to see our needs. It's being we're confusing needs and other things.
It could at sometimes. I'm not saying basically anything. I'm just saying sometimes, sometimes something else covers up our need. Sometimes we confuse it with something else, and sometimes we are genuinely connected and be able to, understand our needs and hence look for an alternate option. Right. See, I'll give you an example. We were having a small meeting, parents and the children playing around, and they were obviously making a lot of noise. They were having a lot of fun. So the first response was, "Can you go and play somewhere else?" Right. Some parent got up and say, "Hey, we are having a meeting here. Can you go somewhere else?" And a voice inside me said, "Can you not have meetings somewhere else?" Why should they fulfill our demand? If we have a need, we should fulfill our need. Where do they come into the picture? They never said. Right? So the need was not that they play somewhere else or they make less noise. The need was that we have a quieter meeting. Now, the moment I say I want a quieter meeting, the responsibility is mine, right? It can't be the child's responsibility. There's no child in that statement. If the need is that I want to sleep, then it's about me. It's not about somebody else. That is where the responsibility comes in. And which is where I realize, okay, this is my need. I'm responsible for it. So the emotion of irritation or whatever it is my emotion, and so on. Am I making some sense?
Yeah.
So demand is just one term I have used. I'm not saying this is the term or every time we confuse it with a demand only. I just took an example what Venu was saying. So Venu, what could be the need? Or everybody would.
So Ratnesh, in this meeting that you said, the children were making noise and the need was to have a quieter meeting. So you're saying once we know what the need is, the action would be different. So maybe you'd go somewhere where children are not there and then have a meeting.
My action could still be the same. My action could still request the children that can you please play somewhere else, because I have a need for a quieter meeting. But then it is no more a demand. It is a request, which a child has all the right to turn down, as much as when the child makes a request to us, can I have another ice cream, and I have the right to turn down or whatever. You know what I mean? The difference between a demand and a request.
No, then I don't see any difference.
Oh, there is a big difference. One is saying that quiet and play quietly, or play somewhere else, or quiet down, or don't you see that we are having a meeting, and whatever. That is trying to say that I have a demand and you should fulfill it. And the other is a request. And there's a huge difference between it. I think there is a big difference. I'm not saying that every request will be met. In which case, if my request did not help, I need to find other solutions. So I'll tell you what happened in this meeting. We did, so I intervened with that parent and I said, wait, let me handle this. So I went to the children and I said that, we have a need for a quieter, space so that we can discuss and hear each other and discuss properly. Right? So can we request you to play more softly? So the children said, no, we want to play with a lot of noise and all that. So I said, okay, in which case, can we go somewhere else and play that? I mean, do our meeting. They even said no to that. They said, no, but we want to be close to you. Right? So even my second solution was not acceptable to children, because they didn't want to, they were smaller children and they didn't want to be so far from us, and we are anyway in kind of little wilderness, so they didn't want to do that also. But you see, so we discussed few of like this, and then I finally came back realizing that right now I don't have a solution. But the funny part was, so we just discussed this, no solution was reached, but automatically the volumes went down. In a way, we got a solution. You know what I mean? And to some extent, we all became very tolerant of the noise also. I would say both parties kind of gave in a little bit, because there was a rapport of understanding between us. That's the way I'm kind of concluding that interaction. None of the solutions really were either accepted or, kind of we went ahead with it. But we still could find a common ground.
Yeah, can I just add something to this?
Yes, yes.
Hello?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so I think, Ratish, what you just said actually, whenever I've kind of tried to do that, I think what it really does, or let's say, put it in better words, the biggest advantage I would say of doing something like this is that, you know, your whole behavior and maybe like in this example that you gave, your whole tone, your expectations change. That you're you know, you're meeting, you're attending to a demand and not to a need. So I think that I mean, whenever I have practiced that with my children, I found that that is what changes. I don't expect them to, you know, do anything, or at least at that time I don't expect that they will do what I want them to do. And the moment the expectation is not there, my need is also met. It's like that. I hope I'm making sense.
Let me also add that it is not necessary that we always express or shroud our need in demands. We could express our need in form of blame statements. For example, I may say that that boy is horrible, or it was his mistake. Why should I, you know, bear or whatever? Why should I not get it, or something like that? So so another way in which our actual need is kind of hidden is when we make these comparative or blaming statements, right? Blaming statement could be with other person, many a times be with myself. You know, I am like this only, I am lazy only, I am disorganized only. Now, that's like a self-blaming statement, and even that is hiding my own genuine need, own real need, not genuine need, the need that we are talking about. So Venu, I'm still kind of pushing you.
Ratnesh, yeah,
just one
actually,
moment.
I'll go back to that.
Just one moment. So, Venu, I want you to try and see if you can think of what could be the need of the child. So, child B who does not have the tablet, what is the child's B's need? Yeah, so while Ben was thinking, hopefully, yeah, Deepali, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I'm going back to that, taking responsibility for the feeling. So what I'm trying to understand what it means, taking responsibility for feeling. In case I'm feeling not great, or, you know, I'm upset about something, it is my responsibility to change that feeling. I don't want to be in that feeling for a long time, right?
No,
that's what I understood.
No.
Like, nobody can make me happy, or nobody can make me sad. If I want to keep myself happy, I go and fulfill my need so that I'll be happy, right? That's what I'm understanding from that.
Slight change in that, or not slight, at least I would say significant change in that. My responsibility is not so much towards my feeling. My responsibility is towards my needs. If I take care of my need, I automatically my feelings change. So I have in a way changed or taken care of my feelings, but I did not take care of my feelings by changing the feelings. I had taken care of my feelings by being responsible for my needs. Are you getting me? Then you're like, if I say that no, we are responsible for our feelings and we need to change it, but sometimes I don't want to change the feeling. I want to stay with that feeling. Let's say I'm feeling happy. Let's say I'm feeling sad, and what's so wrong in feeling sad? And let's say I'm feeling nervous, and what's so wrong in feeling nervous? So I can stay with the feeling because it is in connection with my need, and I am in sync with my need, and hence I am in sync with my feeling. So it is not so much that I need to be responsible for my feelings. If I understand that the feelings are coming from the need, and can I be responsible for the need, then I am automatically responsible for my feelings.
So one of the prime thing here is what mine or the child's need is.
Right.
That's a prime.
Right. Absolutely. Which is where, that's why I've made this slide. So we have talked about behavior, we have talked about feelings. Can we explore this need, whatever aspect to it, because the need is leading to feelings, which is leading to the behavior. And if we understand that, our needs, others' needs, and how also we do this, we all at least I do sometimes, through demand, through blame, through comparison, through put down, through a lot of these things, I end up actually confusing my actually needs.
I've been thinking about the needs, and
Bhavshika has been speaking.
What the needs?
Bhavshika has been.
Yeah, trying to.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Trying to see what the needs could be. What would be the need of a person to have anything? And my mind works through classification. So I remembered there's the Maslow's classification of needs, which gives a list of things that person requires in life or needs in life. Be it for a child, it could be as simple as I'm hungry, so I need food, or I'm bored, I need to be entertained, or I'm alone, I need company. So there would be needs which are. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to think. What kind of a need does a tablet fulfill for a child?
No. It's not the need that a tablet is fulfilling. That's not, because that is not the need per se. It is something else, right? Something else is happening. Now there is one tablet, 3 children. I want to play with tablet. Another child also wants to play with tablet. He grabs it. I don't get it. So what's the need? So we are not talking about the basic need of playing with tablet. Let's call that as entertainment. But that's not the issue here. What's the need here?
Need seems to be able to control the decision of who plays with the tablet. Is that need to be the person?
Could be.
Who decides?
Dominate others.
Not dominate, I would say, to be able to decide whether the tablet is given or not given. Maybe that's the need.
What I like, Venu, again, is that this whole thing, when you said seems to be, the tentativeness, I like that, because then we are not yet jumping onto, I know the need, man, I will solve it. Rather, I know that I am myself trying to
understand. Unsure.
Right, I'm unsure. And that's a beautiful state to be in when you are unsure, because then you don't come across to the child as like, I know you through and through kind of a thing. I like this seems to be this tentativeness. And I like some of the thoughts that you're sharing. Maybe this idea is that I should be the decision maker. In fact, when you said that, you said the child does use the word unfair. So maybe the need is just fairness, right? Because unfairness is not a feeling. Unfairness is a thought. It's a very analytical thought. A versus B, and B is down than A, and hence it is unfair. So it's a very clear cut. So even that this is unfair. Right, it could be a need, and I want things to be fair, because when a solution, if you really leave them and they do come up with a solution where each, let's us decide they will play for 10 minutes, and if they think that it's fair, suddenly all the emotions go away, isn't it? The moment they feel that now this strategy of each playing for 10 minutes or 1-1 game or 2-2 games or whatever strategy they come up with, but the moment they come up with a fair strategy, they are able to, suddenly that those emotions are not there. When they're not able to come up with a strategy, that's when all the altercation happens. So I'm saying an example here could be, it could be just the fairness itself, right? How it is to be decided, who gets it? Is it the speed? Is it who jumped to it? Or is it, what is it? So I may feel it is unfair because you were closer to the tablet and hence you grabbed it first or whatever. So I can then help the child understand the unfairness part of it. I'm just taking an example. I'm not saying, Venu, that in this case unfairness is the need. Obviously, at that moment you will have to decide or try a guess or try different options if that is not what children respond back to. But I'm taking an example of how when we realize that's the need, then, and one way to know that if this is the need, because once that need is resolved, then the emotions automatically get taken care of. Then you know that you've kind of pinpointed the right need.
No, I would love to have a huge list of all needs, like a lookup table.
Okay, you've got one. You've got unfairness as one need. We all want to be treated fair in life, right? Sure. So it's not a bad idea. It's actually a terrific idea to sit down with the child and make a list. Make it a family game. Let's make a list of what all our needs and what all emotions they lead to. When my need of sleep is not fulfilled, as I think Deepali was giving example, what kind of emotions it leads to. So you write sleep and then you make arrows. Sometimes I get irritated. Sometimes I get this. Sometimes I get this. And then when my need for hunger is not fulfilled, this. Sometimes when my need for being able to take the decision is not fulfilled, this. And so on and so forth. We can look at lots of different needs and understand the needs and start taking responsibility of our needs. Yeah, when you started the documentation, awesome. Thoughts from others?
Venu, I think this is a very common trait, maybe among the children or maybe among adults also. Like normally the children are seeing, no one may be playing a particular game or particular doll, but if someone picks up the doll, all the kids will go and just want that particular doll only, even if there's a substitute for that. There is no, I want that only, and there is no logic for that. And then that becomes, for them, it becomes like a very life and death issue for that particular few seconds or few moments. That particular thing is wanted.
Right, and we all crib our children are not leaders.
No, actually, interesting question is why. Interesting question is why does it become so important for the child at that moment, for all the children at that moment? That's the question that if we could understand, I think we would know what could be the next step.
That's what I'm saying. And then we crib about elsewhere that children are not leaders. Well, they're very much wanting to be a leader at that moment. And if we can understand that innate need of one of the need is to be able to fairness, to be the leader, which is why children want to be the first. But let's take some other examples. This was more between children. Let's take a parent to child example. I think that would be also interesting. So if somebody has another example.
Ratnesha.
Yeah.
This thing happened with Harish a couple of times. We'll be attending birthday parties. We'll be invited and we have to attend, and the basic thing for that is getting a gift. And Harish would openly say I like that part of him expressing what he feels like. He says, please don't take me to Toys R Us when you're going to buy toys for others. Mm-hmm. I don't like it. Mm-hmm. Okay. But I would always say it won't be fair to go to a party without a gift. So we have to go, we have to buy. And I was not sure about the next part, like how will I help him with his feelings. Okay, so I always leave it loose and we'll go, and the moment we enter until we come out, Harish will be crying, Harish will be whining. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's not even crying, it's like total uneasy feeling. He cannot stand me picking a remote control car or a Lego or whatever. He cannot stand it. Right. So all the time I was in a kind I was not like Venu, like seems to be was not there with me. I was very sure Harish doesn't like, like that's sure I was. And so the one good part was like I was not shouting back. I was not getting embarrassed, so that I don't have to express any kind of behavior, shouting or whatever from myself. Okay, so I was able to understand. Okay, so this boy doesn't like, so he'll behave like this. We have to stand it, and we go out of the shop. And for that reason, I was also very sure that I'm not going to bribe him. I'm not going to get him a toy. So
let's take this as an example, right? Let's start with, so you go to a shop and you decide to buy a gift.
Harish is whining.
Right. You decide to buy, I'm just giving the context again. You decide to buy a gift for whichever child's birthday you are going to, and Harish doesn't like it, so he starts Crying, right? Crying or whining or whatever. Okay, so crying. I'm just putting this
Whining, yes.
Whining, right. Okay. Right. So, what are the feelings? Sorry.
Feelings are, he says, exactly like I can say he's.
What do you think he's feeling?
Upset and angry. That's what I could say. And sad about getting it. He doesn't like it basically.
Right.
That's what
Okay,
he says.
so let's leave it
like
as vague as upset. Okay.
Upset. Yeah. Upset.
Okay. And what do you say, or what would you say? I mean, I'm saying this to everybody, so many people can join this situation.
So
what would you say? So you can use chat window freely. What would you say? Let's say this is the situation, right? Imagine, visualize it. You are in supermarket with Harish. You're buying a gift. He doesn't like it that you are buying it for somebody else, and he's upset. He's crying. He's whining. You've acknowledged the feelings. You've told him you're upset. You're feeling upset, or you've asked him, how are you feeling? And he has said, I'm very angry, or whatever. Now what would you typically do next? Don't yet, whatever comes to your mind, think about that. We'll come to the need little in just a few steps. Others, what would you say? So Nalini, when you say, do you also want a toy? Maybe Harish says, no, I don't want you to buy the toy for him. That boy, whosoever, Ratnesh, you're going to Ratnesh's birthday, I don't want you to buy a toy for Ratnesh.
I would say I would genuinely tell whatever I feel. I would have said, actually even I don't want to buy a toy. I feel it is really waste of, children really don't play with toys. But I just have to do it because that's the social norm.
And he says, then don't do it. Just don't do it. Forget the social norm. I don't want you to buy a toy for him.
Then we make a deal. We don't go for the birthday party.
Okay. So, okay. So first of all, interesting. I like this. So you went into what you called as social norm. I have to. Right, I like this. Let me put this down. This I have to is such an amazing thing, right? As if we are like tied to the bamboo pole whole day. Imagine, I have to, right? Where does this come from, right? Where this, I have to. I am a mother. I have to do like this. I am a father. I have to do like this. Right? This have to is again a cover up to actually understand our needs, isn't it? Think about it. When I say I have to, what am I doing? I'm blaming it to something which is beyond me. I'm saying things are beyond me.
Ratnesh, actually, the basic response from me would be like...
wait, Radhi, I want to spend a few more minutes on this. I have to, if you allow me to.
So, Ratnesh, you mean there's something else to that, buying a toy?
No, I'm not saying about that. I'm saying here that are we even understanding our needs? What are we, when I say to the child, beta, we have to, or what am I telling him? Right? That we are,
no, what am I saying?
Yes, that I'm not understanding. I'm blaming the world or the society or whatever, some extraterrestrial being who has set this rule that I have to.
Ratnesh, it's like, Ratnesh, see, it's like when people come to your party, you are really expecting. You want to know what others are getting to you, so you have to give back.
No, you have to. Wait,
so it's your turn to
you say
back. So
you have to.
That's what this I have to is. That's how I see that. Otherwise, if you are not going to expect, okay, you may not be giving, but you want it, right?
It. Understand your need. When you want to give a gift, so Deepali, Radhe, everybody, when you want to give a gift because the society says, so what's your need? Let's think about your need or my need. Let's say if I want to give a gift because otherwise log kya sochenge, what will people think, or it's the society norm. Which need of mine am I trying to fulfill?
Yeah, acceptance.
Okay.
Acceptance.
So can I, if that's the need, can I say I want to be accepted in this peer group, and because of that reason I am buying this toy? or because of that I'm feeling anxious to go without a gift, and hence I'm going to buy a toy. Now I've talked about my need, my feelings, my behavior. Does that make sense? But what's my need? It is not some extraterrestrial need has come that I have to give toys. No, my need is to be accepted by my peer group or my friend circle or whatever. You said need, it could be somebody else's, would be something else. It could be even a need of that I have a need to impress others, to be recognized, to be applauded, to be appreciated, and to fulfill that need. If I feel anxious when my need is not fulfilled, or I feel weak when that need is not fulfilled, and to fulfill that I am buying this. I'm buying a Pericarian shirt, or I'm going to buy a big gift, or whatever it is. At least I understand myself. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Yes, Venu, the need could be coming from a belief. We are not yet questioning the need. Is it right, wrong? To do that, we have to go one step back and say, what are my beliefs? And then my beliefs will question my needs. If I want to question my need, that is. Right.
Ratnesh is wondering again, to help me recognize my needs, one is to practice identifying needs, and one is to, I think in terms of concepts or frameworks, it would be helpful for me if I would have a framework or some frame from where I could make selections.
Yeah, which is where a chart of needs is helpful, just like a chart of feeling is helpful. If you really look at the needs, we don't have a zillion needs. We have a handful of needs, maybe 10, 20, 30 needs. There are charts available on the net, chart needs chart or whatever. So you can go ahead and even Google for it, make your own with your family. But I agree with you. We can have a chart. But let me just still come back to this I have to. Sorry, I like it because this is something which we all use so much more. This thing about that I have to. And in some way we are giving the same message to our children. We are binding them with the beliefs that you have to, right? Rather than freeing them and saying you have a choice. Now when I say I'm choosing to be recognized by this group or applauded by this group or accepted by my peer group, and to exercise that choice I have a need to, and why am I exercising it? Because it makes me feel whatever, and hence I need to behave in a certain way. Radhe, does that make sense? I don't know, Dipali.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can join this hidden.
I think two of you speaking today.
Trying to save my face, kind of, I think only if I do it, I'll be respected. And,
right. So at this stage, I'm also not saying that it's wrong or right to, let's say, be accepted or be fit into a group or so on and so forth. So I'm only saying that these have to, and demand and blame and comparison and many more we can add to this list are ways of are things which may hide the actual genuine feeling from us. But the moment I actually accept connect with my feeling, and Venu is trying to find ways to do that, then the moment I'm able to connect to my feelings, then I'm automatically responsible for it. Then I may still buy the gift, right? So it's not that I don't buy the gift or I don't do certain things. I may still do it. So my behavior may not change, but definitely my feelings about it changes because now I've taken responsibility of the need and hence the feelings. And in the same way, I can help the child understand his feelings and not understand his feelings, use his feelings to understand his needs. So one easy way out is I don't try to guess the need. I help the child to express or verbalize his needs. what am I needing? And where the question Prerna was asking, how do you do dirt cleaning? So when I do dirt cleaning, I do two things. I express my feelings. I say, I did not like you the way you spoke to me in the morning because I have a need to be respected. So I qualify my feeling with a because statement, and the because statement is the need statement, and the need statement is what I'm responsible for. And hence I'm also responsible for the feeling, so I can express my dirt. If I only express the feelings that I'm upset the way you spoke to me, in a way it's not yet clean the dirt. I'm only acknowledging the dirt. I'm saying there's dirt in the dustbin, but I need to actually throw it out. And just because I have expressed or shouted on somebody doesn't mean that the dirt is totally gone out. But if I have connected it with my need and I have understood and taken responsibility of my need, then to me it helps to actually clean it out. In some ways, have I answered your question, Prerna? So I'm not saying in one statement it is that you'll have to explore it in many, many zillion different ways. There's no one way to do it, but see if you can connect the feeling to the need that is coming. Initially, children will blame. Initially, children will demand. Initially, comparison. A lot of different things will happen. You have to keep asking, is that really the need? It's a journey. Again, as Sunita mentioned at the beginning, it's not something that has that happens in a day, but we are helping children learn this over the next 10, 12 years, I would say. That would be wonderful. So why I was not trying to share with you how we do it, that you can come here, experience it yourself. But there's no method to it. I'm not sure it's about a method, but it's more about an understanding. When I understand it is, and I'm questioning it, and I'm tentative about it, I'm not like saying I know all the needs in the world. No, no, no. And I'm open to hearing others, and I'm hoping to get them to verbalize their needs rather than me trying to verbalize their needs, and so on and so forth. Then it's a beautiful journey that we go along. Then children come and ask, Dad, you were angry at that time. What was your need? Or Uncle, you were whatever. This at very tense at that time when children were jumping into this. What were your needs? And then I'm trying to understand my needs, and then understanding my feelings, and so on and so forth. So then it becomes a together journey.
Ratnesh, actually, somebody was telling, like, the moment I did not have, the expectations, and you will get into that calmness, so throughout this, a couple of times when this happened, and I had no expectation, like I don't want Harish to stop crying, or that he should not yell, because whenever I go near him and try to talk to him, he was like, keep quiet, don't talk to me, I don't like you, something like that. So I have to be quiet, and we buy the toy, but all the time I was putting my hand over him. I was walking with him. I never, I leave him sometime, and then I'll go back to him to see whether he's getting all right. Then as we were coming out of the shop, even his dad was trying to tell him, I'll get you the car later, or in a week, or something, some kind of a compromise was going on, because I don't want that to happen, because I want Harish to stay with that feeling and understand, getting something else to compromise, this is not okay. So some kind was going on there, and when I was getting out, Harish was letting out, telling, I was so upset because you were getting me all dumb toys, and I want you to get dumb toys for my friends too, because they get only dumb toys to me. Some kind.
Right.
He was kind of comparing, and the thought was totally different than what I was thinking, and
right, because
he was getting into his school,
right.
And by the time we are getting back, things were fine.
So now you can take it one step forward.
I was willing to it.
Yeah.
It was not like
That
I would not have thought.
So you can now take it one step forward. You can, when he says like that they get dumb toys and whatever words he's using and whatever thoughts is running in his mind. Now is the time to kind of help him dig a little deeper and understand where is his need. Is his need that what is its need? To get better toys, or to be one up amongst others, and what is exactly his need? Where is he coming from? It will take some time of deep diving. It's not that in one shot we can understand sometimes. And sometimes we are able to see it very clearly, sometimes not so very clearly. And the digging process itself helps, because then I learn how to dig in future to understand my needs, which are often shrouded by other thoughts and, as I said, comparisons and judgments and so on and so on. Right. So all of these, as I said, to me, the combination of behavior and feelings are like a lamp. The feelings are to me like a lamp which is helping me discover my needs. And when I discover them, then the lamp is obviously very handy. So all my feelings, anger feeling, hurt feelings, are extremely good things. They're like lamps. Obviously, lamps are useful, right? So my feelings are extremely useful, right? In fact, I don't want to shoo them away. I want to use them. I don't want to distract the child. I don't want to change the topic. I don't want to go for a walk. I don't want to go for a walk. I want to discover using this light, which is bright lighting, right? A feeling of anger, feeling of disturbed, feeling of worry, feeling whatever feeling, right? That bright light of feeling to discover my own needs. And then obviously once I am in responsibility for my own needs, when I can say I need this something, then I can find obviously different ways, and that itself again is a journey, not that I have to get the solution straight away. Right, thanks Sunita.
Awesome, Ratnesh.
Welcome.
Yeah, so profound actually, like, you know, it's for me really, it's like a truth revealed, something which we never think about it, but everything, it's an indicator, feeling indicator, and going further, as you said, you know, we'll go one step further with a deeper understanding. So profound it is.
Thanks.
Ratnesh?
Yeah, Anurag.
Hello, Ratnesh. See, I have a problem even when we communicate to another person that you just be with me, I know my mistakes, I will correct it on my own, but they still try to express what they have thought of. They respond the way they have mentally prepared for. How do I handle such situations?
So what is their needs? Let's say they're giving you a lecture.
Their needs is to just...
Sorry?
No, their needs is to just tell what they want to tell.
No. What is their need? That is their behavior. The behavior is they are telling you what to do. But what is their need? Okay, what is their feeling? First of all, let's go one step at a time. Their behavior is to tell you what to do. Now, what is their feelings?
Yeah. Their feeling is they're just getting irritated that I am not understanding what they are telling.
Okay. And what is their need?
Their need is to, I should blindly follow
what is their need? Their need cannot be about you. Their need has to be theirs. What is their need? You have to think about it.
It seems their need is to be
What could be their need?
Yeah.
Because I have talked enough about it. Huh?
You should listen to them. Just being, they want to express their feeling. Listen to it.
I know, I couldn't. Listen to it. Okay.
They want to be heard.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That says to be obeyed.
No. They want to be heard. Fine. But after listening, it is the same old, we are back to the square one. How do you handle that? I hear, I listen. Listening is to understand, I understand, but I want to put forth my need to them.
Yes, yes.
And they're saying that,
see,
leave me alone first, you just need to tell me.
Right, so I that's exactly what I'm saying. So while in a way I need to be left alone and they're imposing their solutions to me. So if at that time or little later or whenever I want to, if I can understand their needs also. See, in a dynamics of two people, there are two sets of needs, and sometimes they could be very different needs or even opposite needs. Right? One wants to go to whatever, Jammu, Kashmir, another wants to go to Kanyakumari. Now what do we do? But at least if we understand that that's that person's need and this is my need, and though they are opposing needs, at least I can understand that. Finally, the other person has to take care of his needs. I cannot fulfill his needs, but I can fulfill my needs and understand the other person's needs, and hence I can be empathetic towards that other person, and hence I can be more accepting to the other person. Not that I can make him come to Kanyakumari, come to Kashmir. No, if he wants to go to Kanyakumari and I want to go to Kashmir, that's how it is.
Okay, got it, Ratnesh. Thanks.
Okay, Prerna's put in a question. Prerna, you're typing a private chat, but I'll read it out. She's saying teenage behavior will go in this topic, liking or getting attention from opposite sex. What's the need? Oh, that's a fundamental need, Prerna. At least I think at a very basic level, that's a very fundamental need, right? It's a need in all animals, for that matter. Unless your question is different, then I haven't understood it. To me, the need is very obvious, which is why a 10-year-old does not have a need of like that. He can be very happy with his whatever. In fact, he may say, I hate girls, a boy or 10-year-old, and a 10-year-old girl may say, I hate boys. So that's very, very common. Wait, it's saying hormones. Yeah, so hormones or whatever. That's a more fundamental, whatever, survival need, right? I need to whatever, mate, as we call it in animal world. So
Ratnesh, hello.
Yeah, just 1 minute, Deepali. Before I take your thought, it's 12:30. So kind of broadly wanted to just kind of cover this. I'm also okay with people kind of dropping out at this stage because people would have timed their session. I can be around. We can maybe 5-10 minutes. We can carry on discussion if people want it. But I'm saying we'll need to kind of take care of the time aspect also. Also, a request to all of you that for the next fire burner, send in your suggestions for topics. You can right now, I will be putting up this presentation as well as sharing the list of topics. So you can just send it to me by mail and I'll put it together and we can pick up one by one over a period of time, right? So I'm just kind of acknowledging, thanking everybody here who was part of today. There could be technical issues. If you face technical issues, again, mail me. I'll see what we can do so that you don't face that next time. And so if you want to step out, you can just say bye in the chat window and step out. And I think we'll close in another 10 minutes if that is fair to everybody.
Absolutely fine.
Right. Yeah, Deepali, you can carry on. And thank you, everybody.
So it's all about, setting that like a culture, like as a parent, we can start expressing our needs first rather than digging into their child's need. Right? I mean,
yeah, though I would choose not to use the word expressing our needs. I would choose to use the word understanding our needs. Even if I don't express, that's okay. I want to put a premium on expressing. Not everybody is comfortable expressing. Not everybody wants to express. That's okay. But at least let me understand my needs. See, if I keep saying Deepali is a bad girl and that's why I'm in such a bad situation and I keep feeling horrible about it, then I'm not even understanding my needs. I'm just blaming you. You know what I mean? But if at least I understand that my need was this, right? Then I understood it. Now whether I express it to you or I just find my own solutions or ways of fulfilling the need, or I continue to struggle with my need, all that is fine. But at least I'm now responsible. You know what? The key word is responsible. The key word is not solving it. The key word is not how do I fulfill needs. No, how do I become responsible for them? There's a difference between the two. And responsible.
There's a difference between what?
Fulfilling and being responsible about it. So I'm responsible for my needs and need not always be able to fulfill them.
Okay.
Right. So we are not trying to solve it or fulfill it. We're just trying to be responsible for it. And how I will be responsible only when I understand that.
All right. Ratnesh, this is other than the session today. I want to know how I can contribute to Arohi from here.
Okay, so let me talk about that. So one is, just an announcement. I think more or less everybody knows we have a new TTT batch starting on 18th. So if you have any people who are interested, we are also doing an orientation for TTT. So you can connect people to both TTT and to the orientation. The next orientation is on Tuesday. So that's just a quick reminder. If your friends or just spread it in your groups, Facebook groups, WhatsApp group, whatever groups you are part of, or friends group. So that's a quick one on TTT because it's just starting. How can you be part of Arohi? I'm still thinking, how can you be? One way you can be part of is again sharing more resources. Something interesting that you find, share with us. We can use it with children. You can even do Skype sessions with our children. You can indicate what all you are open to doing with. We can announce it that hey, there's a Dipali auntie in Hyderabad, right, Dipali? You're currently in Hyderabad? Or continue to be?
Yes, I'm in Hyderabad. Yeah.
So we can announce, hey, there's a Dipali auntie in Hyderabad who can do an online session with you on these things, right? You can even teach origami live. You can teach anything. You can explore topics with children, or if you want to just tell a story, or you can laugh with them, whatever you want to do with them. So you can directly connect with children. You can share resources. You can say there's an awesome place to go. There's an awesome website to visit. There's an awesome video to see. With some background to it, that okay, this is why I think this should be seen by children, or and so on. What else? Yeah. So the other thing that I'm inviting people, you may not have yet got the mail, is to become mentors in the TTT batch. So you join the TTT batch not as a participant. You don't have to attend the sessions, but you can be mentors to other people who are attending TTT and often have doubts and questions, and you can help them clarify, so you can become a mentor. I'll be sending a formal mail on that. So, so if you want, you can be a mentor. What else? Right, so people who are interested in sharing resources, I'll show you a way so you can directly catalog it, as in you don't have to mail it and then I catalog it. You directly put it in the right place into the website. So that I'll do. What are the timings? Milind, this is a morning batch, so this is 10 to 1 batch starting on 18th.
Oh, thanks.
Okay, that's some of the thoughts. I'll think more about it, Dipali, if I get more ideas. But even these I'll put together and send it across to everybody. So if anybody wants to be part of it, yeah.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think we can wind up now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Some of you were quieter, some of you were. If anybody would like to make a summary of today's session, would like to post it, that would be nice. I'll be creating a blog, so you can post it on that. Yeah.
Sure, Rajneesh. Thanks for the wonderful session, and thank you everyone